This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT, HD, WOGL, HD3, Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Serious doctors for serious injuries. And powered by the law offices of Pond, Lehocky, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Oh my God, badly hurt. Badly hurt. We need paramedics right now. A car just drove into people, causing a multi-chain accident. Somebody might be dead, folks. Somebody might. Holy
Come on, man.
Holy the car just drove people. Somebody is really badly injured on the ground. And then the car smashed into other cars and then backed out of there.
The chaos in Charlottesville. A good Saturday evening. Welcome into Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, along with Ryan Boyer in the studio, and our special guest in the studio tonight, Bill Ross, joining us in the studio as well. As we come onto the air, the narrative on the big show tonight, Ryan, was going to be fake news, and that was where we were going to begin on this Saturday. And Bill Ross, who is with the Newspaper Guild, and he joins us in the studio, and we will continue or get to that conversation. But what is going on in this country? What is going on in Charlottesville? And what does it actually mean, Ryan, when we stand here and we sit here, me as a white American, you as a black American, when we stand here and we sit here and we listen to now what I understand, 3 dead and a riot and everything else, it is completely off the edge and out of control.
I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not surprised. The mood in this country has been turning ugly and has been turning more antagonistic, American versus American, and particularly the faults of the racial lines that have been kind of put away in pleasant society. This President Trump has kind of elevated the harshness and the coarseness of American discourse, and I'm not surprised that this is happening because it has emboldened people that heretofore had been put underground. They were not a part of mainstream society, and as they said,
but the violence, Ryan, is the violence part of it necessary?
Joe, living as a black American, sometimes I think we live in parallel universes. When we cry out, I think that white people, even white people that are good, well-meaning, they think that we're prone to hyperbole, or they don't believe just the level of violence and the threats of violence that we live with every day, whether it be the police department, whether it be when you go down south and the looks you get, and in certain places in Philadelphia that we used to go, namely Fishtown and those areas. And people, they'll look at you like, oh, I don't believe it. But this is not a surprise to any black American in America. And it's probably a great surprise to white Americans because they believe that we were in a post-racial environment because we elected a black president largely because a lot of whites voted for him. So, but we're not post-racial. Those faults, they are there. And when you shake them up and you have some of the language that we have coming out of talk radio, coming out of the internet from both sides, it's not enough now to disagree with the idea. You have to disagree and denigrate the person. The person is no good. They're amoral. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. So if you tell someone they're trying to kill you all the time and they're against you, you only fight violence with violence.
It's Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. As all of our listeners know, we normally begin the show and we normally set our table at the beginning and the top of the hour with an unbelievable dinner spread. And tonight might be, Ryan Boyer, the very, very best from Reggae Vibes. I want you to hold on.
Yeah, I
want
think
you to
it may
hold.
be the best.
I
We're
want
going to
you
hold on.
I want
Reggae
you to
Vibes
hold
is
on.
good, though.
Reggae Vibes is unbelievable. We're going to deal with that at the bottom of the hour, right at 7:32 or 7:33. Congressman Dwight Evans joining in and weighing in here on Saturday Night Live with Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Congressman Evans, welcome in to the show. You're on with Krausey, Ryan Boyer, and Bill Ross in the studio. Good evening.
How are you, Congressman?
Hey, good morning. Good evening.
Congressman, it's funny. Friday, I looked at your book, and it's really appropriate that, ideas matter. And you, of course, signed the book for me. But in there was a card from the late, great Amina Young that it was the first book she had purchased for me. And I think that this riot is because ideas no longer matter. It's personalities, right?
Unfortunately, it is very unfortunate. I was listening to you and all of you talk. I mean, we have a very unfortunate situation occurring. And I do agree that sane minds need to step up and say that, look, we need that it has to be about peace and harmony. It cannot be about hatred and violence. And this is all centered around, from what I'm understanding, I'm just picking up around the basis of taking down some statues from the Civil War. The Civil War is over. The Civil War is over. The reality of it is that there are some people who still want in this country still conduct themselves in terms of the Civil War. And the reality of it is we need to have people from both sides that stand up and say enough is enough, because this violence is counterproductive. Dr. King, more than anyone, was consistent in that message. He stood up and said over and over again. He obviously said to white people and he said to black people that when it all comes down, that we're in this together. And he talked about we may have come over here on different boats, but we're in the same boat now. So we can have our disagreements, and I heard what Ryan said, but I do agree that it has become far too destructive in terms of those disagreements.
Congressman Dwight Evans joining us here on Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Congressman, does it have to be white versus black? Does it have to be race versus race? Can we ever get to a point where that's no longer in the conversation?
But I think we actually passed, though. If you look at those crowds, the counter demonstrators were mainly white.
Yeah, my point is.
Go ahead.
I don't think until we're doing like we're doing today, until we had some frank conversations. Let me tell you something. In South Africa, they had a reconciliation process. In America, we have never had that. When you really think about it, we have not had a reconciliation process. When President Mandela took over, he had this reconciliation process. And that's a part of a healing process. When you think about since the emancipation, slavery, civil rights, Jim Crow, all of those things, you think about with Rosa Parks and everything, those were all battles. When you think about what took place with President Lyndon Johnson and the voting rights and everything, we really haven't had that. And there are dog whistle issues that are taking place, but we don't want to face up to it. And then if you throw economics on top of it, when you throw economics on top of it, and Ryan can speak to this from the perspective of what has happened to the good, sustainable jobs. So when you take race and the economics on top of it, then you got a pallet cake. But the fact of the matter is, we haven't had this kind of conversation, which we should. We shouldn't be fearful of talking about the conversations we have. We shouldn't be fearful of having those conversations. We shouldn't make excuses for having conversations. So when you say, will there be a point where we have a race? I'm saying no. It will never be dealt that way until we face up to the challenges that have happened in this country. There's some healing that has to take place. If you look at South Africa, in the transition that was made in South Africa, and most people thought that was going to be a powder keg, they had a process. Here in America, we're 241 years old, and no one can say we have had a process. And I don't think this can be just politicians, to be blunt with you. I don't think politicians, because politicians run for public office and they play the audiences. What we're doing on your radio program today is something that needs to happen over and over again. And it needs to happen. I mean, I can see where all radio stations and TV stations collectively have this kind of larger discussion. Because until you have that, I don't know how you're going to address it.
Yeah, I think the media plays a big role, Dwight, and I agree. We have a media representative here, but now if you look at all the talking head shows, I can almost predict what each one of them are going to say as soon as I see their title. So it's like they put adversaries there, so no ideas are ever discussed. People just try to outshout one another, and we do. That was a great point you made about South Africa and the reconciliation process. If you even look at Reconstruction, they stopped that because a political deal was made to let the South out of Reconstruction for votes. So you're absolutely correct, Congressman. It can't be politicians because they'll sell you out for a deal.
Correct. And I'll be the first one to say that to you. The reality of it's not going to happen in the political process. It's going to happen like with this radio program. And I could see where media across the board would have different people come on collectively and have these discussions. But don't forget the economics, because the economics also play in the race aspect, because good, sustainable jobs that used to be here, there's people blaming people for the disappearance of those jobs.
Absolutely.
They're pointing fingers at that. They're trying to blame people, particularly there, is you took my job. You stole my job. We can talk about the steel mill. We can talk about the coal mill. We can talk about the entire industry. We can talk about those industries. So when you talk about economics and then you add race on top of it, you have a powder keg. And to me, what you saw in Charlotte take place there is the discussion and removal of those statues led to where it was, because there's some people who are holding on to those statues. But you see what took place in South Carolina? 9 people had to die in order for that flag to come down. 9 people. That didn't make any sense. That 9 innocent people by a sick individual went into a church. And those people, families were forgiving. They were forgiving to what took place when all 9 of those people innocently was killed in a church. So is there not anything sacred anymore?
Congressman Dwight Evans joining us here on Talk Radio 1210. WPHT, along with Ryan Boyer, also in the studio, Bill Ross, president of the Newspaper Guild, and he joins us. Bill, I know you want to weigh in. I'll give you a chance to chat with the congressman.
Thanks, thanks, Joe. Good evening, Congressman. And
good evening.
And I do agree with both of you. Especially Ryan just made a good point. When you're watching these talk shows, very predictable in what's going on, and the present administration is not condoning. Or it took them a real long time to condone what's happening today in Virginia. And we have a real problem on our hands, and it's only getting worse.
Well, I think, Bill, part of why it's getting worse is, I think, as Ryan said earlier, I think they thought with the election of President Obama that would magically remove years of deep-seated hatred. One presidency will not do it. And it's not just the presidency, it's all of us. I'm in Congress, and all of us, those of us in Congress, United States House and the Senate have equal responsibility. I don't think no president by himself. I think I need to whatever issues we have to have these kinds of discussions. And they have to be discussions where we don't pull our punches about why certain things happen and why they are where they are. As Ryan said earlier, when he talked about the policing aspect. And let me tell you something. Police have an impossible job. I'm the first one to say that. It is not easy being a police officer. It is thankless. But we put police in situations that basically it is impossible for any police officer to deal with, because those of us in the political process don't want to deal with the social ills. And we expect people in the police department to deal with issues. Police departments can't deal with inadequate education, job creation. They're trained for enforcement. That's what they train for. They train to catch the bad guy. But the reality of it is, you take police officers that you train, and then we put them in situations where we want them to cure issues that we ourselves haven't been able to cure.
Congressman, we're going to hold you over for the break, but we have to pay bills. So we're going to go to a break, and we'll pick up the conversation when we come back.
Local lives here. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Back here live on Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Congressman Dwight Evans joining us here on the hotline. Congressman, I only wish you were in the studio tonight. Ryan has filled the studio with some great food from Reggae Vibes tonight, and every Saturday night we set our dinner table before we come on the air, and Ryan has set it well tonight, my friend.
The congressman has lost considerable amount of weight since he went down. He's working out. He's on a regimen. So, but he's responsible for a lot of this weight that I have on me because he's responsible for Relish Restaurant up in the Northwest, which I have to go to. I love Relish, and so they're responsible for at least 10 of these pounds.
I understand everybody. Look, all of us look good, but we all have to have our healthy being for our sake because. Look, we must deal with our own situations to deal with the challenges that we have in the future. And the reality of it is we can't get away with this because we are all in this together. I will keep saying that. We are in this together. We have to do. And I'm not making any excuses. You know, there's a lot of fingers that could be pointed at a lot of different people, but we got some work to do.
Congressman, let me ask you, transition
Sure.
to what I perceive to be an incredible amount of responsibility on your shoulders and on the shoulders of all of our leaders today as the threat and the conversation proceeds hour by hour, day by day with what's going on in North Korea. Your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I absolutely do not agree that you should use language like fire and fury under no circumstances. Even the head of Germany came out today and said that is counterproductive behavior. If we know anything from history, that will not solve anything. You only have to look at history. We need to be students of history. Using language of fire and furious is counterproductive. We who are in the Congress, if you look at Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, the power is in the hands of the Senate and the House. The president can't take that kind of action. Now, he could say what he wants to say, and I don't agree with using that kind of language. I'm telling you. And there's no way that I'm trying to protect the crazy in North Korea. He's wrong. I don't agree with what he's doing, and I don't agree with his behavior. So I'll make it very clear. I don't think it's a question of talking about President Trump versus the president of North Korea. Have we not learned anything?
Well,
we only have to look at history.
America used to say, walk quietly and carry a big stick. It
Right.
seems like now we're walking loudly and carrying no stick.
Well,
we are a superpower. We don't get down to the level of North Korea. When you're comparing the United States president and the dictator of North Korea, we're already in bizarro world right there.
And to me, to the point you raised, let me say this. If the president, to me, was wanting to do something, you get the Democrats and Republican leadership together. And then you show a collective force about North Korea. You don't just, to me, by yourself, get out there and talk about fire and fury. You have the collective leadership of Democrat and Republican standing there with you.
Well,
There's no way you can talk about fire and fury.
I agree with you, but now we're going to move to another subject that's near and dear to my personal heart because I have a son that's in the honors program at Cheney University. So I saw you made statements about Cheney. Could you give any update or what you think about?
Well, bottom line is myself along with Senator Casey and Congressman Brady, we all collectively spoke to the governor's office. We spoke to the person who is the chief lawyer for the governor. We spoke to the activists, and we said basically, Cheney is the oldest African American college first in America that started. And the reality is Cheney is very valuable. It's valuable to a lot of teachers that came out of there. It is an asset to this state and to this. So we collectively, talking to Casey's office, and I know Congressman Brady, and I know the governor, collectively, we said there's no way that Cheney can close. We have to figure out a way. There's a college called Paul Quinn in southern part of America that he figured out to change the mission of Paul Quinn in a way to make sure that it was appropriate. So I'm saying to you, Ron, that we collectively are all working.
Now, Representative Evans, I offered my services to the governor, Jordan Harris, and Bob Bogle, and Vincent Hughes, and whoever want to listen. I have some ideas. My son could have went anywhere, as evidenced by the fact that he's in the honors program at Cheney, but we chose that for a very specific reason. And I think that, some ideas of people that aren't in government, it may be time for those ideas to be heard.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Senator Hughes. I did talk to him also about a week ago. He said he's having a meeting with the governor about it. So I think that the attention of Casey, Brady, Hughes with the governor, and it will be that kind of action that will save what we consider an asset to the state and to this country. And Ryan, I think somebody like you, for keeping everybody's feet to the fire, because that's important. I'm going to say to all of you, those of us in office, all of us, our feet have to be kept to the fire, and we all have to be accountable.
Well, Dwight, I appreciate you. You're one of my favorites. I get in trouble, but I'm a guy to say numbers matter.
Thank you. I appreciate
men
that.
lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And just based off the sheer volume of things you've been able to do for the Northwest, I have nothing but great respect for you, and glad now that you're in Washington, D.C. to check some of this power. Thank you for calling in on Saturday night, Dwight.
And I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity. And in the future, I hope to be in the studio so I can at least smell some of that food.
And you can come in the studio. We'll get you a salad or something, Dwight.
Dwight, I'm surprised you don't smell it through the line.
Dwight,
the studio is resonating.
When you come
here.
in, I'll have it catered from Relish, because one of their kitchens is not too far from around here, and Warm Daddies, so they can bring it. All right, thank you.
Take care.
All right, good stuff. That's Congressman Dwight Evans weighing in here on the big show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We jumped right into the conversation right from the top of the box, and I didn't get an opportunity to welcome all of our listeners in who are normally with us on a Saturday night. We'll roll into the bottom of the hour. Bill Ross in the studio, part of the conversation, and the narrative continues in the second half hour of the big show. Fake news. We'll talk about that. We'll have lots of conversation, and perhaps we will hear, Ryan, from J-Doc, and you'll get an opportunity following the drum roll to tell him all about.
If I hear the ocean in the background, I'm going to hang up on J-Doc.
Back in a moment.
Radio.com. Radio.com.
Back here live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Welcome into Saturday Night Live. Krausey with you on a Saturday in the Delaware Valley. Ryan Boyer in the studio, as always, and Bill Ross joining us. Special thanks again to Congressman Dwight Evans for jumping in at the very top of the show, Ryan, and weighing in on a serious matter and a serious conversation, which put us in a position to move to the bottom of the hour with our conversation going forward. But it was nice to have Dwight weigh in for sure.
Yeah, it was. It was great. We're in serious times in this country, so it was great to have a serious politician.
We are missing one of our gents in the studio who normally is in the studio.
They tell me this guy's by the ocean, man.
J-Doc, are you out there? J-Doc, are you there?
He's not there. He don't have any food,
Wait a minute. We'll try and get J-Doc up on the line. Hold on here. Let's see if we've got it. Let's get off of it. So while we wait for J-Doc, Ryan, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you brought into the studio tonight. Wow, unbelievable.
Listen, J-Doc was in Cape May. I wanted to take people to Jamaica, so we went to reggae vibes.
That's right.
We had some jerk chicken, some oxtails, some curry chicken, rice and peas, some cabbage, some greens.
J-Doc.
J-Doc, and we had cannolis.
And cannolis.
We have the dessert covered, J-Doc.
Listen, I picked a heck of a week to go on vacation. I'm missing all of that. I'm it's always a surprise what we all bring in every week. And I said to Krausey earlier, I said, man, I can't wait to find out what he's going to bring in there. I know I'm going to regret not being there, and I do. I love Jamaica. I will take a rain check on that.
Well, J-Doc, all you have to do is go to Fifth and Gerard and see Denise. She'll take care of you. She's the owner of Reggae Vibes. It's a great little place. They have a nice vibe, fresh food. Every day they importing stuff in. They don't serve the same thing every day because they don't. She says, I have to get it fresh. And they only sell the right oxtails on Thursdays. She's one of those people that put the very, very attention to detail into everything that they cook there. So if I go in and I ask for Denise and just say my name and she'll know you. I have a little bit of clout there, man. I have a little bit of clout.
She's not going to chase me up the street when I say that.
No,
right?
she's going to take care of you, man. She might sit you down, man.
J-Doc, for the first time in 30 years.
Right.
For the first time in 30 years, I almost broke my golden rule.
Yeah, you and your golden rule. I'll tell you.
Of eating during the broadcast. I almost busted the rule, but then resisted at the very end.
Well, you know what was amazing? A couple of weeks ago when Ryan actually, when he broke that rule, I'm sorry, Joe, you know me. I don't have that golden rule, so I wish I was right there with you. Certainly, I'm listening to the captivating conversation. Also want to say, of course, hi to the boss, Ryan Boyer, and Bill Ross. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, J-Doc.
Okay, so you're sitting in the king's chair, or the prince's chair. Ryan's in the king's chair. That's a heavy burden there, buddy.
It's very comfortable.
It's very comfortable. He's taking it. You know, he has the real news today, not the fake news.
Well, I was going to say it's almost like pinch hitting for Dan Rather, isn't it, Bill? Except without the talent or the knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right. By the way, guys, unbelievable conversation with Congressman Dwight Evans. And one of the common, denominators, and you look at the stories, with what's going on in Charlotte and of course, in North Korea, there's hate there. It's the mindset of hate, and it's just a terrible thing. I agree with Ryan Boyer. Being a white man, it can be, a misconception that, we had an African-American president, race issues are behind us, but they're obviously not. But that's a different type of hate that these individuals are spewing. And certainly there is a common denominator when you look at what's going on in North Korea. And so certainly, but I really appreciate it. Congressman Dwight Evans saying that programs like ours, look, we deal with labor issues, we deal with, working issues, but we deal with all kinds of issues. And so certainly is good to get that, get that on the table. And certainly I'm proud to at least be able to call in and touch base on that. And I'm sorry I'm missing you guys. Sorry I'm missing Bill Ross.
You're not sorry. You're going to get off this place, put on your flip-flops, and go down to the boardwalk.
J-Doc, I'm about to cut your mic, brother. But where are you, man? I'm about to kill your mic, but real quick, where are you?
Well, I'm right outside the Lobster House. What I was saying is, and I'm sure that, listen, I wish I was right where you're at. I wish I could open the door, come in there, and start eating the Jamaican food. But as a second, I was fortunate enough, Joe Kraus got me a gift certificate at the Lobster House. So my wife and I just stepped out of there. So I'm in the middle of some broiled seafood combination, and got the sea scallops and all that stuff. The little bit of lobster. My wife got the king crab legs. And so, I'm I got to wipe the butter off my face.
All right, good.
But, all good stuff. And so, I appreciate it, but I can't wait to get to Fifth and Gerard, too. I can tell you that.
All right, J-Doc checking in from down at the Lobster House in Cape May. Well done, J-Doc. Enjoy your weekend as the summer rolls on here at Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. The opening narrative of the show tonight thanks, J-Doc. The opening narrative of the show tonight was supposed to be about fake news. And tonight we were going to try and end a conversation about fake news. That's probably not possible. Tonight we are going to try and explain fake news, what's actually fake about fake news. Tonight we are going to try and provide some clarity and what it means to be the teller of a story. Bill Ross from the Newspaper Guild is in studio with us. He joins us. He's been with us for the full hour. He brought the cannolis, and he's with us. Bill, you live that world every day. It's a strange, sometimes a strange world when that those two words are attached to what's being put out there, fake news.
Thanks, Joe. You're very, very offensive to our members and to newspaper reporters and photographers, around the country. I think this administration, though, has, caused the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Philadelphia Inquirer a resurgence in the print product. I think there's a lot of people reading the newspapers today, and I think most of the news is not fake news. The president wants to deem it fake news because they're getting very close. As I predicted many months ago on your show, that I thought Russia would be the end of his presidency, and he's going to start feeling the heat.
Ryan, give me your feedback. Give me some of your thought. Weigh in here for me. Fake news opinion?
No.
Is opinion being misconstrued as fake news?
I think the whole concept of fake news is to make the news, the legitimate news, unbelievable. So when they come out with credible stories, the masses muck it all up and say it may not be true. And it's only playing to the base of the right. They're the only people that says fake news. That's a right phenomenon, and they're taking on the media because some members of the media may be Democratic, they may be leaning to the left, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. So they'll take that and they'll say, well, it's a fake media, but it's a story. And the story has verifiable facts. What I think that we've done in America is we've always argued over opinions, right? But we said, look, we have to say that 2 + 2 = 4. Now we can say 2 + 2 = 4 and say, well, it depends on how you look at it. And when you don't have the same facts, we have a problem because the media, an informed media, is necessary in any functioning democracy.
Bill, the responsibility off of that statement, the responsibility of the story, the responsibility of the details belongs to the author of the story, yes?
Correct. And most times the author has, good sources where these stories come from. Everything is not a leak, as the administration wants you to think it is, but you're right. It's the author of the story, and if you've read most of these stories, they are top-notch reporters from all the outlets.
We'll continue our conversation with Bill Ross, who's in the studio. I want to get to our final break of the big show. We're moving along very quickly. We're presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries. We're powered by Pond, Lehocky, Stern, and Giordano, the absolute workers' compensation law firm. We're back in a moment.
Interact with Talk Radio 1210 WPHT right now, on air and online. Facebook.com/1210 WPHT.
Back here live on Saturday Night Live. Ryan Boyer, Bill Ross, Joe Kraus in the studio, Jay Dock and Kate May right at the Lobster House. As the show rolls to the top of the hour, don't forget, coming up at 8 o'clock, it's the Dan Loney Show. He'll take you into the night until 11 o'clock. Dan Loney enjoyed very much, Ryan, the meal that you brought in for dinner tonight, and I encourage all of our listeners, if they have not sampled what we enjoyed tonight, it should be one of those must-do things for you if you are a Philadelphian or if you come into Philadelphia, yes?
That's correct. And the service is great, too. I always like great service with a smile, and they have that island, mentality that nothing's a rush. I'm telling you that right now. They're on IRE time.
And reggae vibes. Thank you very much for being part of Saturday Night Live here on a Saturday. Bill, appreciate you being in the show. What's going on with the Guild? You've got lots of stuff going on, not only in Philadelphia, you're moving around.
Yeah, we're busy. We're in contract bargaining with Digital First Media. It's the second largest newspaper company in the country. They're owned by a hedge fund out in New York City, Alden Global Capital, and we've been bargaining 14 contracts around the country in Denver.
And you're moving. Is that a process where it's far apart? It's how does it work?
We're in the second year right now of a 3-year contract.
Okay.
It's a wage reopener. Our members received their first wage increase in over 10 years, a 3% wage increase last year. So we're now in year 2, and we're opening up for wages in year 3. So.
Well, that's the economy. Dow, the stock market is doing good. Wall Street is doing good, but it is Main Street isn't.
Correct.
Wages are still stagnant, and we have to try to get the wages in this country up. I don't know how we do it, but we have to try.
Bill, what's the vibe of the worker? The people you represent.
Yeah, it's tough, Joe. Some of these members have been there for 40 years. It's their only job they've ever held. We have members in Pottstown who work at the Pottstown Mercury. It's their only job. So there is no light at the end of the tunnel, it seems, unless these hedge funds that are out-of-town owners sell these properties, and we can get responsible, potentially local buyers that still believe in the communities where these papers,
Hedge funds buy the properties. Why?
Well, one, I think in Alden's case, it's a number of real estate, and the product. The newspapers have always made money. Even these papers still are profitable, but they're not 30 and 40% profit margins like they used to be. And the hedge funds just seem to milk it, lay people off, cut jobs, as low to the bone or close that they can go, and then they'll look to flip it and sell it if they can.
A tough industry. I love the industry.
But we talked about it earlier. So much of the industry gives its content away for free, and the internet ad dollars aren't equal to radio or television. So the revenue isn't coming in. So you guys don't get raises, and with consolidation, it's funny. Like it used to be a daily news and an Inquirer. Now it's just one Daily Inquirer. It's both, but they share so many stories. It's not worth buying both anymore.
To Ryan's point, the flip side, the Inquirer, Daily News, and Philly.com are actually doing okay. They're owned by a nonprofit. The newspapers and the website are still for profit, but they're owned by a nonprofit, so they don't need to really turn a profit. They need to make $1. So there, our members are starting to see some changes. As Ryan said, it's one product, one newsroom. They are hiring. We have eight jobs open, so our newsroom is at over 200 members. It's the largest newsroom in the state of Pennsylvania, and we just settled a 3-year contract there as well. So our members are on their feet, and I think we're seeing it turn around slowly.
Are the members happy there?
Some are happy. I can't say everybody's happy. Same thing. We have members that are there a long time. We do have a group of millennial members who are potentially the future and are doing a really good job with the new beats that are created. And as Ryan said, you now see former Daily News reporters in the Inquirer. It is one product, and I think some of the members are happy. Can't say they all are.
Are the millennials do the millennials make up the part of the process that's happy?
Yeah. Right now, the millennials seem to be happy. They're new. They're eager to learn. They're out.
They're not used to pensions.
Correct.
They're not used to health care, so they don't care. They don't know the good old days, right?
That's what concerns me about millennials, and not only in all conversations. That's what concerns me.
Yeah, a considerable amount of our time at our union is spent on educating young members who don't understand, why we fight for pension, why we fight for health care. They're like, well, let's just fight for greater wages. We're like, construction isn't an industry that you're going to be around much longer than 25 years because your body will be beat up, and then you'll be very happy that someone took care of your pension for you.
It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. As we roll to the top of the hour, again, a special thanks to Congressman Dwight Evans for weighing in and being a part of a very spirited conversation to kick off the show. Tragedy and tough struggle in front of us as we come on the air and as we leave the air. And it seems, Bill, as you know from the industry that you're in, the story and the narrative changes by the minute. And tomorrow's story or tomorrow's reflection will be very different than it is today.
That's true, Joe. Breaking news today, if you're watching the networks, it seems like every 5 minutes, the New York Times or the Washington Post are breaking a new story, whether it's North Korea, Russia, and what's happening today in Virginia, I'm sure will be the
Now, is that the backlash of the news media down at being more aggressive with sources? Because it does seem like since this president has been sworn in, there are more stories that are really, really, just top secret stuff, and we're like, wow, how do we know what went on at Air Force One? Is that the media saying, look, we're going to get more aggressive? Just human nature. He talks about us, we'll show him. And is it also part of the establishment that he's ruffling some feathers down there, and they're like, look, no, this isn't the way it's done in Washington. We're going to show you how it's done because we're going to leak. I
think that's exactly what part of it is. And when did you ever see somebody running for Congress that would body slam a news reporter, a guild member, onto the table or onto the floor?
You guys got to get a little more tougher, too.
I agree.
Bill Ross, thank you so much, man, for coming into the studio tonight.
Thank you for having
me. I don't care what you are. You don't let anyone slam you. That's not.
Ryan, 35 seconds to you. I give you just to. I'm not sure which way you want to go on a summary here, but I'll give you half a minute.
35 seconds is the reason I chose to do this show on this station is because I want to talk to others. I listen to Dan Lonely all the time. I listen to Michael Schmarkanis. I even listen to the guy in the morning, Dom Giordano. While I don't always agree, I think that they all come from a right space, that they really believe in what they're saying, and they're not just trying to spout controversy. In America, if we can't talk to each other, we're doomed. Let's have real conversations about ideas and thoughts and not about personalities and people.
Well done, well said. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in and being a part of Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We did manage to get Governor Wolf scheduled, so I want to give our listening audience just an update that on Saturday night, which would be the 26th of August, Saturday night, August 26th, Governor Wolf will join us right here on Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. That's going to bring our show to a close. A special thanks again to Reggae Vibes, 517 West Girard Avenue in Philadelphia. We thank Reggae Vibes on behalf of J-Doc, on behalf of Bill Ross, and of course Ryan Boyer for being in the studio, John behind the glass for making it all happen, and all of our listeners for tuning in tonight. I thank you very much. I'm Joe Kraus. See you next time.
I seen that open space. I hope you're saving that for medical marijuana because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that, and I just want to let you know, we're talking big numbers. We're talking, as you know, they're talking trillions, but we're talking mucho billions around here of unionized pension money. I haven't heard in 6 weeks one conversation about Russia yet. That's the reality. They come to me about jobs. They come to me a little bit about Obamacare, but they don't come to me about Russia. And with Philadelphia jumping out of the seams as a hospitality town, we need our transportation to be clean, efficient, safe, and on time.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.